Members, we are back in session. Ms. Olson, for what purpose do you rise?
I'd like to request a Republican caucus, please. Just kidding.
You had me, Ms. Olson. Congratulations. Members, on the regular file, we are going to take up file item number 6, and that's AB 2 by Mr. Alejo on the regular file. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 2 by Assemblymember Alejo and others, an action relating to economic development.
Mr. Alejo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. I'm presenting AB 2 on concurrence, which took minor and technical amendments in the Senate. We have worked to perfect this bill over the last 3 years. This is year 3. And AB 2 will allow certain blighted areas of California to create a new entity called the Community Revitalization Investment Authority, or CREA, to work towards tackling issues facing our state's most disadvantaged communities. In 2011, the state dissolved its redevelopment agencies, driven primarily by the cost of redevelopment to the state's general fund. But the needs of struggling communities did not go away. AB 2 will work to change this by investing property tax increments of consenting local agencies other than schools to improve our local communities. This will grow jobs, reduce crime, repair deteriorating and inadequate infrastructure, clean up brownfield sites, and promote affordable housing. This bill requires 25% of the funds to be set aside for affordable housing and will help rebuild impoverished communities across the state. If we don't fix our existing neighborhoods, then cities will sprawl outward, worsening costly problems like traffic and greenhouse gas emissions. This bill has received bipartisan support in the Assembly and the Senate, and is supported by a host of cities, the California Chamber of Commerce, CBIA, and housing advocates. Members, this is a bill that will once again provide a critical and necessary tool for economic development and affordable housing for economically disadvantaged communities. This bill stays true to the original intent of redevelopment, which is to help those communities most in need: high crime, high unemployment, high poverty. And as Father Gregory Boyle once said, nothing stops a bullet like a job. That's what this bill is about. Your cities will thank you for supporting this important bill, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Alejo. Seeing Mr. Eduardo Garcia, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker, members, good morning. I rise as a joint author to AB 2 and want to just tell you that here is a great opportunity to make a wrong right. We had a lot of conversation earlier in the week about our cities, about making sure that we can bring back economic development opportunities. And so I ask that you support this bill. I want to thank the author for all of the work that he's done on this bill, and thank you again, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Seeing no additional discussion or debate on the item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 57, noes 15. Senate amendments are concurred in. Members, I am prepared to lift the call on AB 533. Ms. Gonzalez placed the call. I don't see Ms. Gonzalez.
He wants to go last, he said.
Oh, he wants to wait.
He said he wants to go last.
Members, we will deal with that item on call at the end of our business. Mr. Holden, I'm going to go to you for your procedural motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the request of the author, please send the following bill to the inactive file. File item 65, Senate Bill 435, PAN.
The clerk will note.
Senate Bill 441, Leno, is at the desk. At the request of the author, I move to rescind the action whereby Senate Bill 441 was passed to the Senate on September 8, 2015, and to send the bill to the inactive file.
The clerk will also note.
Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to suspend Assembly Rule 63 to allow the following bills to be taken up today without reference to file for purposes of concurring in Senate amendments. The bills are AB 35, David Chu, AB 1124, Perea, AB 1288, Atkins.
Without objection, the request is granted. With that, members, we will move to AB 35 by Mr. Chu. Without reference to file, clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 35 by Assemblymember Chu, an act relating to taxation to take effect immediately, tax levy.
Mr. Chu, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, I appreciate your consideration at 12:05 a.m. on Saturday morning on one of the most significant challenges of our times, and that is our state's housing affordability crisis. This is not just a crisis in my district where we have seen thousands of our residents who have been actually or constructively evicted in recent years, but we live in the most expensive state in the United States, where 13 of the 14 most expensive metropolitan areas in our country are in the state of California, where 21 of the most expensive cities in the country are in the state of California. We know that housing affordability is driving inequality. If you count housing as costs in calculating poverty, we have the highest poverty rate in the state. We have 12% of our country's population, but 20% of our country's homeless, 500,000 homeless youth, 1.5 million families who are unable to afford affordable housing. This is a problem of our own making. When this body decided to eliminate redevelopment, when we ran out of bond money to build affordable housing. We currently have an affordable housing tax credit of $70 million that is woefully inadequate, completely oversubscribed. This proposal, AB 35, would add an additional $100 million to be able to leverage another $200 million of federal funds and hundreds of millions of dollars of private sector dollars in order to build housing in rural areas, in urban areas, in suburban areas that is affordable, in order to create jobs through public-private partnerships, in order to address inequality. I want to thank the 250 organizations that are supportive of this bill. I want to thank our Republican co-authors, Mr. Wilk and Mr. Steinorth, and I particularly want to thank my joint author, Speaker Tony Atkins, who has been a lifelong champion for affordable housing. Colleagues, I ask for your support of AB 35. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 77, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. AB 1124, without reference to file. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1124 by Assemblymember Perea, an act relating to workers' compensation.
Mr. Perea.
Mr. Speaker and members, AB 1124 is back for concurrence. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Perea. Seeing no discussion or debate on the item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 75, no 0. Senate amendments are concurred in. AB 1288 by Madam Speaker, without reference to file. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1288 by Assemblymember Atkins, an act relating to air resources.
Madam Speaker, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 1288 ensures communities disproportionately impacted by environmental pollution are represented at the State Air Resources Board by allowing the Speaker and the Senate Committee on Rules to each appoint members representing environmental justice communities. The State Air Resources Board is one of the most important regulatory agencies in California. Their actions impact the environment, health, and well-being of all Californians. In order to ensure that ARB is able to effectively integrate the needs and perspectives of California's diverse residents, AB 1288 adds 2 new members to the board that are appointed by the Speaker of the Assembly and Senate Rules Committee. These new members must work directly with communities in the state that are most significantly burdened by and vulnerable to high levels of pollution, including communities with diverse racial and ethnic populations and communities with low-income populations. AB 1288 is broadly supported by environmental justice and environmental organizations. I would respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, clerk will open the roll. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 51, noes 25. Senate amendments are concurred in. Ms. Gonzalez concurs with lifting the call. I am prepared to lift the call on Mr. Bonta's measure, AB 533. Clerk will post. All members vote or desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote or desire to vote. Close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 37, noes 8. Measure fails. Mr. Bonta notices reconsideration. Madam Speaker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I know it has been a long day and a long evening, but before we leave, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge some of the people and the actions that have helped make the 2015 legislative session a success. For me, I have to say one of my primary motivators this session was the PPIC report last year showing half of California's children live in poverty or near poverty. And we took some huge steps this session to help lift Californians out of poverty. The biggest step we took this year is the $380 million the Assembly pushed to include in this year's budget for the state earned income tax credit. California's EITC will help 2 million hardworking, low-income Californians and put money back into local economies. The $263 million we provided for a comprehensive package of child care services will help more struggling Californians be able to look for work and to keep their jobs. There are some areas we weren't able to resolve yet, particularly transportation infrastructure, but our special session conference committee and the coalition of business leaders, local elected officials, and labor we have put together will continue until we get a funding solution passed. I want to acknowledge the $1 billion in drought relief that we agreed to on a bipartisan basis this session. That helps communities, families, and individuals suffering through the drought. And it kept a promise we made to voters last year with the water bond, that if we needed to come back and do more, we would. So members, tonight I absolutely want to thank every single one of you for your hard work and your commitment to the people you represent. I want to thank Governor Brown and President Pro Tem Kevin De Leon for their partnership this year with us on so many issues. Republican leader Kristen Olson. Once again, I want to thank you for standing up for your caucus and your constituents, always promoting civility in this House. To the Speaker Pro Tem Kevin Mullen, Assistant Pro Tem David Chu, Majority Leader Chris Holden, you kept this House moving smoothly, especially during the crush times. And to Marie Waldron, you always advocated for your caucus in a way that allowed the process and the people's business to keep moving. We owe our thanks to the hardworking staff without whom the legislature could not and would not function, especially the clerk's office and the desk staff who are here before we are every morning and stay long after we leave, making this process work. To Diane Boyer-Vine and her team, who do such great job, especially when late amendments are required, and to our own staffs who work so hard on behalf of our bills, our communities, and our constituents in our districts, and the women and men who keep this building together, the sergeants, the security personnel, special services, the DGS personnel who keep this building a jewel for all Californians. So to all of you, thank you. Safe travels home. Have a productive interim back in your districts. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, let's also take a moment to recognize the clerks under Dotson Wilson's leadership, Assembly TV supervised by Rick Matos, and the sergeants, of course, under the leadership of Chief Ron Payne for their outstanding service. We want to acknowledge them. Ms. Grove, for what purpose do you rise?
Request to speak on condition of the file regarding the disability community that was not funded in this year.
Ms. Grove, that is at the discretion of the Speaker. We have a few more procedural items. I'd ask that you talk with Madam Speaker on speaking on condition of the file. In the meantime, Mr. Holden, you are recognized for your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In accordance with Assembly Rule 42C, I request unanimous consent to allow the following members to print a letter in the Journal. For the first set of letters, there is support on both sides. For the second set of letters, there is opposition.
The clerk will read the list of members and bills for the first set of letters.
Wood on Assembly Bill 243, Dodd on Assembly Bill 402, Speaker Atkins on Assembly Bill 437, Chu on Assembly Bill 438, Holden and Wilk on Assembly Bill 525, Rendon on Assembly Bill 530, Mark Stone on Assembly Bill 848, Gordon on Assembly Bill 901, Cooper on Assembly Bill 1042, Gatto on Assembly Bill 1116, Gatto on Assembly Bill 1164, and Eggman on Assembly Bill 1351.
See no objection to Mr. Holden's motion. The request is granted, and the clerk will note. The clerk will read the second list of bills.
Speaker Atkins on Assembly Bill 1288.
Ms. Waldron. I didn't hear you. Ms. Waldron is withholding unanimous consent. We will open the roll on the motion to allow Speaker Atkins to print a letter in the Journal on AB 1288. Takes a majority of those present and voting members. This is procedural. Clerk will open the roll. Mr. Holden is asking for an aye vote. Majority of those present and voting members. Mr. Holden is asking for an aye vote. Ms. Waldron is asking for a no vote. Mr. Holden is asking for an aye vote. Ms. Waldron is asking for a no vote. Clerk will close the roll. Ayes 51, noes 26. The motion carries. Mr. Holden, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Pursuant to Joint Rule 51, I move that the Assembly adjourn for the interim recess until Monday, January 4th, 2016, and consent for the Senate to do the same.
This motion requires a second. Seconded by Ms. Garcia. Is there any objection to Mr. Holden's and Ms. Garcia's motion? Seeing and hearing no objection, the motion carries. It has been moved and seconded that the Assembly adjourn the regular session for the interim recess until Monday, January 4th, 2016. This House is adjourned.